You're listening to nothing important.
Who let the dogs out?
Seriously, somebody needs to figure out after all these years and it's still an unsolved mystery.
Everybody knows I don't.
The Baja Boys?
It's so they're hiding in plain sight. Like they made a song about it.
They're going to put out a song. We let the dogs out.
Oh, they
should. A bunch of talk.
Oh my God. That'd be like a great Funny or Die video, though. It's been a long enough time where I feel they could do that, and yeah,
like the time has come for them to come clean. It's like O.J. Simpson. He wrote if I had done it, like if we had let the dogs out, right?
Yeah, if we had let the dogs
the
out.
umbrella of being hypothetical, but like everybody knows that's what really happened.
Please enjoy the show. That's great. That works.
This is the Nothing Important Podcast. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is Cowabunga Dave. Dave, how you doing?
Eat my shorts.
Dave and I also host It's All Good Man, the Better Call Saul podcast. You can find that on iTunes at itsallgoodman.com, and you can find this one on iTunes at nothingimportantpodcast.com as well. Jeff is not with us today, but we have with us Third Mike, Chicago legend, pro wrestler, podcaster, movie producer, all around good guy.
Actor,
director.
Kind of. Yeah, I guess.
Exact answer?
No.
No?
Jack of all trades, master of all of them.
Exactly. The one and only Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana, thank you for joining us on the Nothing Important Podcast.
You're welcome. Now, Cowabunga and Eat My Shorts are two completely different references. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, well, it's a common thing. He'll just throw it at me, and I try to respond. So when he said Cowabunga, I went Bart Simpson. So Eat My Shorts is what Bart Simpson also
But
says.
you are well aware that Cowabunga... Oh, I guess Cowabunga, dude, is Bart Simpson.
Yeah,
I was thinking Teenage Mutant Ninja
Well,
Turtles.
they both came around the same time, late 80s.
But there was that T-shirt where he had Cowabunga. And did he say Cowabunga?
Yeah, he said it a couple times.
He
when
did,
he was
didn't he?
skateboard,
When
it was
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
Michelangelo. Like him and Michelangelo had a lot in common back in the early 90s, I guess.
Do you think there was a feud over, like, hey, dude, that's my catchphrase? Maybe not the fictitious character, but maybe the writers?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. That's I never really thought about that.
I think they were both just raking in so much money, neither really gave a shit.
Yeah,
so
right.
they're just like, whatever, like who else can we get on this Cowabunga thing to keep making it popular, to keep making more money?
Dilbert's just saying Cowabunga.
It's like in Marmaduke comics and shit. Like,
God, and those two are still going.
oh my God.
The
right?
Simpsons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's still happening.
The new Ninja Turtles, not the movies, but the new Ninja Turtles card. I got a 5-year-old girl that she actually loves.
Stop bragging.
I'm just saying.
I can reproduce. Look at me. Oh, my sperm works. Eh.
I've
But
replaced
she loves
myself.
the Ninja Turtles, so it's cool that I get to share that with her. And I was watching the new cartoon on Nickelodeon. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually like really fucking good.
Is it decent?
Yeah, it's really
I haven't
solid.
seen it. I saw the first movie Michael Bay got his hands on.
I can't bring myself to do it.
No.
That Netflix special was kind of cool. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was a couple years ago.
No.
And it just kind of ran down like how it became a thing.
Mhm.
And just, when something comes from nothing,
Yeah.
it's not like I remember any of it, but I remember at the time watching it and being like, oh, this is a cool origin story of how it became.
My brother was really big into Ninja Turtles, and of course, being the older brother, I'm like, that's so stupid. Why would you play with it? Until he got his first action figure, and I'm like, oh, this is the coolest fucking thing ever.
Well, not to brag, and I was saying I was an actor, and I don't know much I could say about anything, but I did an episode of Chicago PD the other day,
Really?
and in that show is Casey Jones from the original movie.
Really?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. And I saw him backstage and I was like, oh my God, that's Casey Jones. Like, not like anything to do with like, oh my God, anyone in Chicago PD or anything. Like, I was just like, fuck, Casey Jones. That's so badass.
He is an iconic part of our childhood for sure.
Yeah. And that's from the original, like, Jim Henson, like, body Muppet, like, movie, like from '89, like
Yeah.
like
Corey
the OG
Feldman
movie.
was Michelangelo.
Or it might have been the second. Might have been Secret of the Use. I don't know which one Casey Jones was in.
I think it was in both. No, he was in the first one because Raphael, like one of my favorite things is like he's like a Jose Canseco bat because that was his weapon of choice was
yeah.
Jose Canseco. He was mocking him for it. But that's awesome. What were you doing on Chicago PD?
I don't know. My agent sent me on an audition. I got it.
Awesome.
I won the part. I look at it like a carnival ride. And I don't think I'm allowed to say actually anything.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
NSDA, NSPW,
NDA.
not safe for work. NSFW.
Oh, NSFW.
No, it's NDA.
I've signed a few NDAs.
Yeah.
I think I might have told Brian about it.
There you go.
That's okay, but I don't have any friends, so no. So like I'm going to tell
Who's he
you.
gonna tell?
I'm the best secret keeper ever. Nobody listens to me, and I don't have any friends, so
Exactly.
it all works out.
Hide in plain sight.
But that's great, man. You're doing the active thing. You have actually over the past 2 years, people have sporadically emailed Dave and I, and they're like, "You got to get Colt Cabana. Got to get Colt Cabana." And like that was even back when before we even had some clout to get like actual guests on. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to do that? And then our buddy John Mullins, he's a huge fan of your podcast, and I always tell all my friends,
Johnny Moles?
John Mullins,
Johnny Moles to you and I.
Johnny Mullins, yeah, Jay Mullins.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm like, hey, if you give me a guest and I could book them, I'll like patch you into the phone call. And Johnny couldn't make it down today, but I was excited.
thought there was something way cooler. Like,
yeah,
No.
no, but
guy will have some sexual favors. I can hook you up.
well, I don't need to book a friend's ideal guest for that. I mean,
But like that's just it's kind of like what's it called on like Amazon or like an affiliate program.
yeah, absolutely.
So like you just throw it out to everyone in the world. Like, hey, if you can get us a guest that we want.
No, they don't book the guests. Like, give me like a name.
Right, but that's an affiliate program.
Right,
Hey, if you can hook me up with
Oh
with
yeah,
a lead,
I guess you're right.
I get
yeah.
a lead, then I can give you
Yeah,
this.
it's the nothing important affiliate program.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to make like a graphic or something like that people could put on their Facebook.
The NIAP, man.
Yeah. But he listens to your podcast, and then that got me like on your podcast, and you listen to like or you speak with so many names that I remember growing up with, hanging out with my dad, and you have a phenomenal following, an independent wrestler. You know, you were in WWE. Still hard for me to say WWE, but you were in WWE for.
I was there for
short
2.
time.
I was there for 2 years, but it literally like put a dent in my cool ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
like it did nothing for my career. So, but I mean, it's that. I was telling someone the other day, like that's good for like I don't know, it's good like validation or like people that have no clue about wrestling when they're like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a wrestler," like, and they like don't understand. I'm like, "Oh, I was in WWE for 2 years." They're like, "Oh, cool," and then they like think you're a thing. But for anyone with any semblance of wrestling who knows my world, like knows like the WWE did nothing for me. But yeah, I mean, I was there for a year, so like if you want to judge on like. It's kind of like if a baseball player, like, well, you're only in the minors forever. We don't give a fuck.
So when you watch your YouTube videos, yeah, you genuinely are having a great time.
Well, you start with 2. One thing.
You're a workhorse.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that on?
That's on.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
I got that.
2, you are having the most fun I've ever seen anybody had at their job. And that's absolutely great to see because I'm assuming you're doing okay, right? Like you're eating.
I'm doing great.
That's wonderful. You
Not
got
even
roof over
okay
your-
at this point.
That's awesome.
And like my whole shtick is based on like I'm the working man. Have some sympathy. I was, this my shtick 8 years ago was like I was fired by WWE. Please help me support as an independent wrestler. And now it's just like I'm fucking nailing it. Like, and I'm so excited about it. And right, it's just from being a goofball and a shithead. Like, but it's kind of weird because it's both of those things. It's like because I'm having so much fun and I'm having a blast, but on the same end, I know that on the back end, I know I have to work hard and I know like to put in the hours and to do the work and so like those all come together, and that's kind of the key to my success is that I just don't stop, and it'll probably hurt me at the end of the day, like somehow I don't know, but so like I do when I wrestle, and I'm a comic wrestler, and that's kind of what we dissected in the third movie that I made, The Wrestling Road Diaries 3, Funny Equals Money, available at coltmerch.com. Is this idea of comedy wrestling, and I consider myself a wrestler. I also consider myself a comedian, and so when I'm in there, like I'm just having the time of my life. It's very calculated though. Like the comedy in the wrestling is very calculated, and maybe when I'm looking like I'm having the most fun, I'm also working, and and I'm so good as a wrestler, not to brag, but like I make you think like, wow, this guy's just farting around.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean,
Yeah,
it's because I've applied my trade for so long. I know what I'm doing in order to make it look like I'm just doing nothing
Right.
when I am doing something. And then that's where the hard work comes in, is I put in that many hours to kind of figure it out, you know?
And see, and that's awesome. Dave and I, on top of like actors and whoever the hell else we talk to, we love talking to people who kind of develop their own thing out of what they're passionate about. Like we talked to Eric from Tugboat Coffee, had a great job. Love coffee so much. He dropped like this phenomenal job that I wish I had now.
Yeah.
And it started like rented a small space in some warehouse somewhere and shipped money in to buy a roaster. And now he's like shipping coffee all over the world. And we had the gentleman from Miami who does the Cuban sriracha.
Cuban sriracha.
takes
Still
us-
waiting on Cuban sriracha.
Yeah, he's supposed to send it to us. But you know what I mean? So like we love hearing about people that like find a passion and really go for it and kind of carve their own path.
Yeah, I think I'm a nice story. And like, that's why luckily, like there's been a lot of cool write-ups on me. And I think I've been able to gain like a nice listenership. And those both scratch each other's back. Is that, yeah, like, and I think the main story, my main back end story or origin story or whatever it might be, is that like I made it all the way to the WWE, WWF, if you'd like you to. And I had this like really nice following, and like all these people loved that I came up from like the real, started doing little shows in Chicago, then started doing little shows in Chicago and Wisconsin, and then Chicago and Pittsburgh, and then all over the country. And then somebody flew me to England, God knows why. And then, and then Japan, and then WWF signed me, and then they just fired me because I didn't look like a cool dude,
Right.
Like I didn't look like Batista or Hulk Hogan or something. That's essentially what happened, Like I'm kind of an everyday man, and that's kind of my look. Like I work out, I train, but I don't take steroids, and I don't look like those dudes that you saw growing up.
Right, yeah.
Freaks of nature.
Yeah, or I don't look like Tugboat or his coffee from WWF. That's a Tugboat reference. I don't know if you got it, but that's all I could think of when you said Tugboat Coffee.
Yeah, totally, dude. He was with Earthquake.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to sneak a joke in there, but I stopped myself.
No, I got you, man. I got you. We're on the same page.
But when you were,
I can edit it to make it sound funny.
please do.
That's part of my job. That's why I'm so quiet. I'm always like,
What can I edit? And so after I got fired, like I didn't let that stop me, and I continued, and I was like, I love wrestling, and like WWE is not the end all be all, and I just love it so much. I want to not do anything else. That's what I want to do for a living, and I found a way, and like now I found this way to do it without them, and I found the way to do it like really well and be really secure. And then there's a couple other people who have kind of followed along like my path, and there's like a little revolution within the independents of wrestling, it's called, who are all like making this crazy living without the big giant corporate machine.
That's awesome.
I was going to say, independence, there's less bigger percentage of pay.
Well, not really on the performance side, but what kind of has happened is I've always been a merchandise guy, and then I'll tie this into Chicago too, is so I've always sold merch. It's always been a big thing because like 2004, I was a teaching assistant. I stopped my job, and I was like, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. And my goal was to do 4 shows a month at $100 and $50 at merch. So that's $600, something like that. Or maybe it was 5 shows and it was like $800. So I had to make $800 a month to live, living on Taylor Street. In Little Italy, like with my roommate, and it was like $300 for rent, like that's I mapped it all out. That's what so like the merchandise was a big part of. I can hopefully try to get $100 for to get to wrestle, and then $50, or $75 to wrestle and $75 on merch. So that merch is a big part of it. And what happened is over the years, I've kind of learned that whole side of it because it was so important. And then we started, I became friends with this guy at 1 Hour Tees here in Chicago. And then we started this company called Pro Wrestling Tees, which is also in Chicago. I don't know if you guys have seen my billboards.
Yeah,
all
and
over
suddenly
the place.
everything makes sense because for years I drive by the 1 Hour Tees place and I'm like, how the hell do they get away with having all those wrestlers? Like, like how do they get away with that? Because if you drive up Damon here, right before Fullerton, their new place is on the left, and it has like a big mural of like Macho Man dropping the elbow from like the top corner of the building, and there's like Colts there, and some of the legends like Andre the Giant and such. And I have wondered for a long ass time. I'm like, how the hell do they get away with that? Like, but
we started that company, and so we licensed out Andre and Macho Man Randy Savage, and besides licensing those guys who have been great business for us, we also through like my connections in wrestling, I've basically signed like all. And if you go and look at my podcast, you can see all these dudes. Those dudes are just my friends. So I've done those live podcasts, The Art of Wrestling. I've done them in person for I'm on episode 332 now. I think I've been doing it about almost 7 years.
Yeah, just a little bit longer than us.
Yeah, a little bit. And so. But those are all my friends. It's like these friends I've made in wrestling because I've been doing it now. This is my 18th year in professional wrestling. And so not only were those, so then I was like, hey, like through this guy, Ryan, 1 Hour Tees, I can make you some money. And so we signed up all these dudes to these t-shirt companies and we do this. It's like Cafe Press, but not. Remember how Cafe Press, you get like $1 if you sold a $25 shirt?
Yeah.
So like, like now, like I was like, what if I can get you guys, $10 a shirt or $13 a shirt? And like the numbers are so much better. Is that now all of a sudden, like all these independent wrestlers who have a high buzz, before we were just getting maybe a couple bucks on, to wrestle, but now like we can use the internet and spread this URL and people are buying these shirts. I always thought like, I've never wrestled in Utah, but I know there's people who like me in Utah.
Right.
And same with the Young Bucks and same with Chris Hero and same with Kevin Steen at the time, there's all these people that like him, but they just, we don't all live in a big city like Chicago. And so this is a great way that, you can support them in different places of the world because they ship, we ship all over the world.
That's awesome. And so like when you made the decision to be a pro wrestler, was that something you had molded for a while or like, did you just see something and like a week later you're like, fuck it.
No, that's the only thing I've ever wanted to do.
Really?
Ever. Yeah.
And then
obsessed as a child.
What pushed you? What pushed you to take the plunge?
My dad pushed me.
He did?
No, just on the ground. A lot, and that's why I'm a pro wrestler today. Dad, come watch my show. No, what pushed me to
just go for it? You said you were a teaching assistant. I mean, like at some point, like even if it's a passion of yours, a lot of people don't like go for it. You know what I mean?
But I graduated with a business degree from Western Michigan University, and I could have like. I remember there was like job fairs because I was wrestling at the time. I started wrestling when I was 18. Yeah. So I played a year of college football and then I quit that because I hated it so much. And I only played a year of college football because my parents were like, you have to go to college. And Jim Ross was like, he was the announcer for wrestling and he would always be like, this guy played here. This guy played here.
Right.
And so I was like, well, I guess I got to play college football if I want to be on wrestling television. And so I was like, all right, I got that 1 year and then I stopped and I was like, Mom, I'm 18, I'm an adult, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. Can't stop me. And she was like, fine, but you have to continue your college. And I was like, fine. Like, I didn't want to. I'm still, at 36, I'm still like upset I went to college. I feel it did nothing for me. So I got my degree. And then afterwards, I was hoping like maybe I could be a full-time pro wrestler, but it wasn't there yet. So I just got a job to support my wrestling habit, which is what we call it. So it's not like in saying I could have went and gotten like, I remember there being job fairs and being like, I have no interest in this. My mom wanted me to get a job at Walgreens corporate, which I was like, nope, like I just need a job that will give me weekends off and will, and will let me train or let me do this wrestling thing. And I did the teaching assistant 2 years and then, finally it was enough where I was making enough money. I think I was making like $11,000 a year as a teaching assistant. And like $6,000 a year as a wrestler, and I was like, I think I can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So So, I mean, I guess that was at 18, I just wanted to be a wrestler, and they were like, you have to go to college. So, I mean, I went to college, but then I just started wrestling, and I kind of was like, well, I didn't think I was going to be like a full time wrestler at 18 or 19, but I kind of had that nice, like that gap of like college was nice that it kind of allowed me to get 3 years of wrestling under my belt while having the excuse of going to college.
Right.
So I didn't have to do anything else.
Yeah, awesome.
It's kind of weirdly worked itself out nicely.
You've been doing it, man, so long. 18, you said? So like
this is my 18th year, yeah.
Wow.
99.
So how's your body holding up from
It's
that?
okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But I went with a couple years ago, I went to a house show with my nephew and my wife, and I'm watching all these like independent guys doing flips and landing on the hard ass canvas, and
You went to a small show or WWE show?
like a little small show.
Oh, okay.
Like a little. It was like in the third floor of a VFW.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was awesome. There was probably maybe 150 people there, but
Where'd you go? Summit?
oh man, shit. I want to say Streeter, Illinois. There's like a really tall VFW building in Streeter, Illinois. They had it there.
Okay.
And they for within their budget had like a big production. Even had the.
I wonder, was it the Billy Corrigan one at the time?
It might have been. I don't know.
Resistance Pro, maybe.
It was a couple years ago.
Okay.
I don't get a lot of details on things because something comes up and my instant reaction is almost always like, yeah. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, oh, well, who's going to be there? They were like, hey, do you want to go to a wrestling show at a VFW? I'm like, yes, I do. It's not like 3 weeks ago I ended up at an aquarium show. Yeah. Because my wife was like, hey, there's a Groupon for an aquarium show. Do you want to go to that? I'm like, yeah, I do. And I looked at empty aquariums for 2 hours. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Which was better, wrestling or aquarium?
Oh, wrestling by far.
Nice.
But
this must be the beta fishing question from that story, huh?
Oh yeah, that's a whole another scam I got suckered into. But watching, I mean, a lot of people probably are more educated on it now. But I mean, you hit the mat hard, right? I mean, you have to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of shock to that, even though you learn how to fall and such.
Well, I was talking to my buddy the other day, and because he was asking me how my body was, and I just think I've calloused my body to the idea of falling down. So just over the years, my body has learned what it's like and has adjusted to it. So, and my style is very comedic based. I do a lot of comedy stuff. I really don't take that many crazy falls, but sometimes I do. But I think my body's just hardened itself to it. Also, I only know my body. I think if you were to jump into my body, you'd be like, how are you doing this? You know what I'm saying?
Right. And if you were to jump into my body, you'd be like, how'd I get so fat?
I'm just allowed to eat anything? This is amazing.
Wait a minute. You're telling me I can have 2 chins?
Oh, in a perfect world. Yeah. So I just know what I am in. And to me, I'm able to walk around and do some stuff. So it's fine for me.
That's awesome.
So as long as I possibly can. And the style I wrestle, I figure I can do it into my 50s, to be honest. Hopefully 60s or 70s.
Well, I mean, you can keep going. You see some of them dudes, like Ric Flair just went viral because he...
Did that go viral?
Yeah, he deadlifted 400 pounds and he's 67 years old. I was deadlifting 400 pounds when I was wrestling in college.
Deadlifting 400 in high school.
And now I can barely lift myself off the chair.
I can't deadlift my own body.
Yeah, but...
My wife spots me every morning when I get up. It's like, come on, Brian, you can do this.
Maybe that should go viral. Film her doing that. It's still pretty impressive. Yeah, but God knows what Ric Flair's doing to himself, allegedly. I don't want to say anything, but I'm sure he's throwing some of those Red Bulls in his body to make him do that at 67, because that's a wrestler's way of life. That's all he knows. There's a 30 for 30 coming out on him, which
really awesome.
Which I hope is done right, because isn't like I don't know what's it called, a poof piece,
right? Yeah,
because he's a maniac.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Are you a fan of the 30 for 30s?
Yeah, I'm not really a sports fan. I was when I was younger. I'm not so much now. But I do I'm a documentary fan.
Okay.
So and all those 30 for 30s are all about
I was say it's about when we were growing
our childhood,
up.
Right?
The same age. Yeah. It's like the Buffalo Bills and the '85 Bears. And I'm on football, but yeah, the Bad Boys, stuff like that. Great shows.
I actually kind of who's his son? David Flair. Doesn't he have a son? His son. And I'm pretty sure I remember this correctly, but his son was a freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestler, and I used to travel around doing freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. And I was at a national tournament, and his son was in the weight class above me at the time. And so, I got the last placing medal in my bracket, but he got first in his. So, I remember standing next to him. And I didn't really know who he was. And then this guy that looks like Ric Flair walks up and starts talking to him as we're taking a picture. And somebody hey, we're trying to take the picture for the for the flyer or whatever. And this dude was kind of indignant. He's like, you don't tell me what to do.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, it was something like that. Woo! And then the guy, he didn't do the woo. The guy didn't walk away. And
don't tell me what to do.
Right. So there was the guy next to me was from Kentucky or something. And I was just like, I'm like, Ric Flair looking motherfucker
If
thinks he's
I
really
wanna
Ric
sit
Flair.
here and ruin your picture, I'll ruin your picture. I'll go buy me a Jack and whiskey.
Yeah. And he's
I
like,
imagine he mixes Jack with whiskey. That's his taste.
and he's like, yeah, dude, that's really Ric
Boy, I
Flair.
feel the
And
way
I'm
I
like,
feel
holy
today.
shit. Like, so small story.
I was at a WrestleMania party, and his son, not David, a different one, had just passed away 2 days before.
Ooh.
And he still decided to go to WrestleMania, get shit faced, and we were in an elevator. Found himself with an elevator with him, and we're like, hey, and he just like looks like he goes, WrestleMania, it's the greatest, isn't it? And then got off on his floor. I was like, why'd you grieve a little for your child?
Sometimes I guess you distract your mind instead of grieving.
I just think
It's crazy.
I don't know. If my kid had died 2 days before, I don't think I'd be at the WrestleMania party.
Yeah, no, not
That's
at all.
just-
Maybe SummerSlam, but not WrestleMania. I might go to the Royal Rumble, but I'm not going to go to fucking WrestleMania. So I'm sure you've met a lot of those like legends and
I've had them all on my show, right?
yeah.
Yeah. You want a list? Is that what you?
No, I was gonna ask you. This is such a generic question, but like, who is your favorite, person, like old school legend that you met?
Well, I mean, I literally met them all. Like met in terms of what? Just through the journey.
I guess like who were you most excited to meet? Like, because coming up, you had to look towards like, man, one day I want to be like,
yeah,
Undertaker, and then like you finally get to meet him. I'm sure you've had several moments like that where you've watched people come up and then you finally get to meet them. Like, what was the most impactful like initial meeting of like somebody you watched when you were coming?
Well, there were some kind of bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was so in terms of good ones, I don't know. Just thinking right away is Ricky Steamboat was a guy who I grew up, idolizing. I met, and he was nice. Really cool. He's a real storyteller. Also, he kind of doesn't shut up too. So like, if you get stuck in a room with him, you're like stuck there for like I've been stuck with him for like an hour before, and that's the weirdest. Where you're like, well, you're my hero, but I really want to go to lunch so bad. So wrap this up, Ricky Steamboat. I'm just trying to think of like, I guess guys that I've kind of become friends with, like Scott Hall and X-Pac are two guys who like.
Yeah, X-Pac is I sold him a power inverter when we worked at a truck stop together, and he talked my ear off. And he didn't say who he was. I didn't acknowledge who he was. I just treated him like a customer. He was like so excited that he just bought a DVD player right when they were first coming out, and like talking about taking road trips. And I was kind of like, can we just buy this thing and like,
come on,
here,
X-Pac,
man?
But it just shows how cool he is.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. He's so cool and he's so nice. Those are, I guess, two off the top of my head. I recently did a podcast with Dusty Rhodes' son, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked at the end how Dusty was a hero of mine, probably one of my favorite wrestlers. And then when I started wrestling, one of the most influential wrestlers to me in becoming the wrestler that I became. And when we met, we really didn't click that well. And I didn't think too highly of him, and Cody and I kind of talked about it on our show, but that was like an instance of like, nah, that was kind of my hero.
Sometimes it doesn't
don't
always.
meet your heroes.
I almost wish I hadn't spent a year with him. So that those were my thoughts on him.
Yeah, and that's always rough because every once in a while, Dave and I. Pretty much what the show should be called is people Brian gives a damn about, because like I don't want to fall into like this trap of just like booking people to book people. Usually, because like ask Dave, I'm a terrible pop culture person. Like I'm totally unimpressed with like 90% of shit out there. So it's like when somebody piques my interest, I like kind of like aggressively try to book them. Like, hey, come on, let's do this. And every once in a while, I'll be super excited for somebody, and then like it's like that same moment where it's like you can tell that they don't actually like really kind of want to talk to you, and it's like there's been a couple times where I've been close to being like, dude, we could just like wrap it now. Like I don't want to waste your time if you don't want to waste my time.
That's kind of why I don't, like I said when you asked, I was like, I don't really like doing them on the phone, just because I don't feel you really get you don't get a relationship with the person you're doing it with. So it's I'd like to consider myself a nice person, but when you do 1,000 of those on the phone, and you're just disinterested because you're just sitting around your house, and there's been so many times where I imagine other people on the other line are just who knows what they're
like
doing.
Pre-canned answers for questions they've been asked a million times.
Yeah, but I'm even saying the people that are asking it. I've had a situation before where someone would ask me, and then I could just hear people in the background talking, and I just get like I can tell they're disinterested,
Like
so
dogs,
I get disinterested.
dogs barking
Just
upstairs.
like this dog, which I don't think will pick up on the mics from my experience.
It won't be bad.
You never know. We've gotten airplanes and stuff before from the air show.
Yeah,
Who
the air
knows?
show.
I remember
That's much
podcasting
louder.
so many times and being like, "Fuck," and then you look back, and I remember acknowledging stuff, but it doesn't pick up on because microphones are so good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in
And I have an
general.
audio engineer who could probably strip that out.
Ooh.
I can't strip out dogs barking. It's on the track. It's on the track. Not a miracle worker.
That's not going to stop me from harassing you. Be like, come on, Dave.
It's like
what
my
the fuck?
clients, on my rap clients, call me up like, "Hey man, I can't sing. Can you make me sound like I can sing?" It's like, fuck, I don't know. Sing.
Probably could
Hire
with
somebody.
auto tunes.
Yeah,
and
I
stuff.
do. I auto tune the shit out of it. And if
I
they're
just-
really bad, I'll have them sing to the auto tune, record that, play that back, sing to that with auto tune on, and then do auto tune on top of it.
Magic.
Yeah,
Mariah, we know how.
So,
it's done now.
if you want to ever add a rapper or a singer to your
well, I
repertoire,
sang my own theme song.
well, if you want to make like an album, because I remember being little and there was like the WWF Superstars album, and it had like Vince McMahon rapping for some.
Well, on my show, I play a song of the week every week,
yeah,
and 322 episodes. I've had to find 322 songs about professional wrestling, but it was all based off of like my love for those albums. The original was the wrestling album, and then Pile Driver was the one after that. And like it's always been my dream. I have a friend, so a guy that helped me with my show, and one of my good friends, his name is Stu Stone, and he is the guy who wrote the song Rolling with Saget. Do you remember that?
No.
Rolling with Bob Saget. Him and Jamie Kennedy used to be. Stu Stone and Jamie Kennedy used to be a rapping duo, and they were on Jimmy Kimmel, and they had this song called "Circle Circle Dot Dot." That was like one of the first YouTube hits, millions of hits. And he's a friend of mine, and I've told him he writes like kind of he had an MTV show with Jamie Kennedy. It was called Blowing Up, and so like he's a comedian and a singer. And I've been like, I want to do a wrestling album so bad, but there's that fine line of like people thinking I'm taking it for real.
yeah.
Like I don't want to do it for real, but like, well, how do you write 12 songs about wrestling? Like I don't know how to do it.
I can help you out. I can ghostwrite. We were in a band for 10 years.
Okay.
You know,
Our very first song that we ever wrote together was "We Leave You Stinging Like a Ric Flair Slap to the Chest." Like we've been doing wrestling
yeah.
references.
Like I'd always
whole
pepper it
career.
in because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So if you ever need a
Great.
ghostwriter for your but then we got to pick a genre. What kind of genre do you want it to be? Or do you
You
want to
gotta
like
You gotta hit different
Anything.
genres. You
Yeah,
got
the
12
wrestling
tracks,
album was everything.
You know.
see? And then what we could do once that becomes a hit, the way to make money after you have a hit album is then
Merchandising.
you make a Christmas album. Because then you don't even have to try, because you could sing everything that everybody sang before, but just make like one original Christmas song.
There-
Throw it on there. Bam. $1 million idea.
I wrestled for a company in Japan called Pro Wrestling Noah, and in 2005 they put out a Christmas song of all these Japanese wrestlers singing the American Christmas songs.
Awesome.
And none of them speak English, but they, I guess they know the words maybe, because I don't know. It's one of the funniest, unintentional funniest things. It's like Kenta Kobashi and Misawa and these and these legends of wrestling just being like, "Well, Merry Christmas."
Story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
essentially
exactly.
it's that. I think it's since been taken off YouTube. It was on YouTube for years, but it's on one of my episodes, my early episodes. Maybe I'll have to dig it out.
That's coming to coltmerch.com 2019,
Listen,
I think.
it's been a dream of mine. A dream.
I'm in.
We
I
can
gotta-
make that
I gotta
happen.
see
He
you-
has a studio and everything. We can make that happen, my friend.
There's so many wrestling songs. Like you wouldn't think about it. There's so many great wrestling songs of people who like have. So the way I do it is I only want if you're a wrestler and you've sang a song, or if the song is all about wrestling. Because sometimes people will do a song and they'll send it to me, and it'll be about like what banging hoes, and then also be like I banged a bitch like Flair chopped it whatever.
Right, yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
well, that's not like a wrestling
Was
song.
that
That's
band named White Trash? Just kidding,
Yeah.
because
Well, we didn't talk about
it
banging
wasn't me,
bitches.
but somebody stole my shit. Like,
That was one subject we didn't touch, was banging bitches. Didn't do a lot of that back then.
That's just a wrestling reference, so it's
Yeah,
got to
right,
be
yeah.
all
Right.
about wrestling. And there's some really good ones out there.
my all-time favorite is Macho Man's diss track, the Hulk Hogan, Be a Man Hulk. Come on, that is like a classic.
I used to sell those at the merch table for $2 each.
Nice.
I mean, that's like when I was like, I got to sell merch, I got to make money. That was used to sell the China porn too. on VHS.
Really?
Yeah. This is years
A
ago.
Night in China or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. I mean, that was just me on the hustle. But I remember I had a buddy who lived in Florida who went to the release of Macho Man's Be a Man Hogan. And a lot of people don't, because now we think of him as this legend because he's passed. But at that time of his career, like, he was kind of a joke.
Yeah.
And I remember my buddy saying that, like, there was like 20 people at this, like, you know, it was like at this like club in Tampa, and there was just nobody there. It was his release party and like, think about that now. Like, if someone said, "Hey, you want to like go to the Macho Man?" Like, there'd be probably like 1,000 people probably on that.
Probably dressed up, eating Slim Jim. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, hell, Dave and I could probably make a song today, and at least like 20 of our friends would probably show up.
That's like a White Trash Stand CD, really.
Yeah. I don't think we ever did either. We recorded like 6 CDs and never had a single release party. It's such a stupid.
Live power.
Yeah. So I won't keep you too long because I totally appreciate your time, and I think it's awesome that you come and hang out with us. But one thing I want to touch base with you is comedy. You do stand-up comedy?
No,
You don't do stand-up comedy.
I did.
I'm under the impression you do stand-up comedy.
No, I do comedy. I do like alternative kind of comedy.
Okay.
Mick Foley was doing stand-up, and the same promoter I knew asked if I wanted to open for him. So I wrote 10 to 15 minutes of wrestling jokes, and I toured with Mick Foley a little bit doing his stand-up. But other than that, I don't do stand-up.
Gotcha. Maybe I'm ignorantly
Well,
calling
it's
calling it
all
stand-up
over.
when it's another kind of comedy.
Yeah.
I guess I'm saying that's like another form of entertainment that you partake in, right? Like,
Well, I do a show with a Chicago comedian named Marty DeRosa, and we do it all around the country a lot of times called, we just rebranded it Unprofessional Wrestling. And we watch old wrestling clips on a big screen, kind of like what you have in your living room / kitchen.
Yeah.
And we watch bad wrestling, and we do kind of jokes and commentary and improv over it. And that's a show we've been doing for a while, and that's the same show that I do at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival every year. In August, for a month, we do 25 straight shows, and I do it with a different comedian over there named Brendan Burns, who won the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2007. So he's kind of a legend over there. And we do this late night show where we watch bad wrestling, and we have different guests every night. So it's kind of cool. I've been doing that. This is going to be my 5th year, and through Brendan, you know, I've been able to share the stage with, you know, like Eddie Pepitone and Hannibal Buress and just, I'm trying, you know, there's a lot of guys over there that maybe people wouldn't know over here, but just, you know, some of the Dave Hill, just all the comedians that seem to go to the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, like I get to kind of play with them on stage. And that's a comedy term. If you don't know comedy, it just sounds like I'm jerking them off on stage.
I mean, why can't it be both, right? I mean, it's time that those two finally came together.
I'm sure there's a show for that in Edinburgh. So that's kind of been my way into comedy, and that's what I wanted. You know, when I got fired from WWE and I came back to Chicago because they had me living in Tampa, and then once I wasn't contracted with them, I moved back to Chicago, and I started taking classes at Comedy Sports, and I wanted to figure out something. Like, I wanted to figure out, I didn't just want to do wrestling. I knew I was a bit of a comedian. I knew this was the town to do it, you know? And so through years, like, this is kind of what it's all come down to. And I love doing it. I also do my podcast live. And when I do my podcast live, it's more of a comedy show in my eyes. Cause we have a crowd out there, and it's kind of funny cause I'll do a mixture of, I'll have wrestlers and comedians on, and I have the comedians on because just sometimes the wrestlers, it's like, it's so weird that like we're all stage performers, but the wrestlers sometimes just don't get it that like there's a crowd there, let's like make them laugh.
Yeah.
And the comedians get it, you know, right away.
And a microphone to them, and they kind of freeze up and they're out of their element a little bit.
Yeah, or they're just, I don't know. It's like they don't have the same vision that I do. Maybe that's it. Maybe like my vision is like, let's entertain these people the same way we do. But I think maybe the wrestlers think, well, I only know one way to entertain them.
Right.
And that's, you know, wrestling. But
we're not
I don't
wrestling.
know. Yeah. So those are the kind of the two ways that I've found. Because I was like, to put on a wrestling show, you have to hire a wrestling ring. And it's so hard. That can't be mobile. You can't travel around. I was always kind of jealous that a stand-up can just show up to a show with a microphone. Not even that.
Maybe a notepad.
Just jokes.
Yeah.
Maybe an instrument.
I was always trying to figure out how to tour wrestling without having wrestling, and putting comedy in it. And so that's kind of what we've came to. And I think, in 10 years, it's going to be even something more different or something hybrid or something crazy. And I look forward to kind of figuring that out.
Yeah, and of course the podcast Art of Wrestling totally helps you out with that. And here's where people like you piss me off, because like Dave and I talk to people, and I have no idea how to interview people. So, and then I listen to you, and I'm like, oh, this Colt guy's so fucking smooth. Like, damn it! Like, how do I be like that? So I just wanted to say that I really enjoy your podcast.
Oh,
and
thank
I
you.
find it very entertaining, and I'm always like, yet another Chicago-based podcast, infinitely better than mine.
Oh, Mr. Humility over here.
But mine is about something totally weird. And yeah, this all stemmed from locker room talks. So I don't really consider them interviews. And it's all about like I've sit in the locker room with my friends and we just bullshit for hours.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to Marin's podcast, in like 2009, right? And then like I would kind of like be like, oh, it sounds like, because before then it was never comedians interviewing comedians, or it was never, I never like really heard like, it was kind of like the boys talking shop, but it was comedy instead of wrestling. And then like, I was like, oh my God, this is what me and my friends do. And I'm so interested in like, cause I love comedy. So I'm hearing these guys that I love. And then I'd find myself then going and talking to the wrestlers, kind of like this, not the same way that Marin does, but like the idea that like we're flowing. But I would kind of see how he was kind of leading the charge a little bit. So then I'd find myself in locker rooms like kind of having the same conversations, but now I'm kind of leading the charge.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of, I don't know if that's my technique or whatever, but essentially it was locker room talks. But then me, if something needed to be moved forward a little bit, I'd kind of like push to move forward. But it's always meant to just be a locker room chat.
Awesome. And my wife, Kristen, just walked in.
See, I don't think that would have been picked up.
Hi, Chris.
And you, hi.
That's okay. Every once in a while, you can hear her saying stuff on the back anyway. So
I see. Just like the dogs, we're hoping those dogs will definitely get picked up, right? I think so.
Question.
Who let the dogs out?
Seriously, somebody needs to figure out after all these years, and it's still an unsolved mystery.
Everybody knows what's up. I don't.
The Baja Boys?
It's so they're hiding in plain sight. Like they made a song about it.
They're going to put out a song. We let the dogs out.
Oh, they
should. A bunch of stuff.
Oh my God. That'd be like a great Funny or Die video, though. It's been a long enough time where I feel they could do that, and yeah,
like the time has come for them to come clean. It's like O.J. Simpson. He wrote like, "If I had done it, like if we had let the dogs out." Right.
If we had let the dogs
the
out.
umbrella of being hypothetical, but like everybody knows that's what really happened.
So transitioning from like you said locker room talk into like actually putting microphones in front of your faces.
I think it was natural with the idea of a microphone in our hand, and maybe that's something because as wrestlers we always kind of have microphones and we're always cutting promos. So like, and maybe you can't tell right now, but the physicality of me holding this microphone is not flawless, but like it's not a big deal to where. Well, I'm saying I don't think it feels more natural to anybody,
Right.
But it does to us as professional wrestlers,
Right.
So that's why I think in terms of all the wrestlers, it was easy for us to just kind of talk and use the microphone because it's something that we do for our job.
Makes sense.
But it's funny you say that because sometimes I think like, oh, me and my friends from high school, we would probably all have like, because and that's what everyone says, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But then I
this
just
great rapport.
Yeah, and then I think like, oh, I imagine I'd get us all in a room, and then we would be like, oh, what do we do?
Yeah.
It's all. It's like I had that
Exactly.
vision of myself for a while now.
Yeah, because Dave and I started. We're like, because he wanted to start the band again. I'm like, dude, I have like 2 kids and a wife. I can't do it. I'm like, but podcasts are a
Got the
thing.
kids in the band.
but like I hear podcasts are a thing, and so like Dave and I never even listened to a podcast before we recorded our first podcast.
Smart.
And,
Smart.
Yeah, in many ways I think so because we
That's
had
like
no,
saying we started a band. We had never played an instrument before.
Also, how our band started.
yeah, that's
I
exactly
think
how
I was the only member of the band that actually played his instrument before the band started.
There you go.
I was a good guitar player.
to this day I
so
still don't play an
legitimized
instrument or
this.
anything like that.
He never sang before. The drummer was learning drums. The bass player was learning bass.
We did okay though. We
Wing it, man. That's
yeah,
kind of our thing.
fake it till you make it, right? Yeah. So last thing, man, what's your favorite frozen pizza?
I don't really eat frozen pizza. If I was to go back, and I don't even know if they're still being made, to my high school days, it would be Reggio's.
Never heard of it, man.
Are Reggios still a thing?
Crappy cereal to me.
Reggie.
Yeah.
October's.
That would be it. Reggios.
Awesome.
The home run in it gets. I get sick of it after a couple bites.
Yeah. It seems so good. Honestly, I had one at my friend's house. It was amazing. I went and bought one, and like after a couple pieces, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Give me a Jax.
Well, Colt, thank you so much for coming on the Nothing Important podcast. Absolutely awesome. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Of course, you're always invited back to do our crappy little show.
Yeah. When I watched every episode of Better Call Saul. I don't know if that's a thing.
Dude, you want to come do It's All Good, Man, with
Yeah,
us?
you tell me.
Because they're pushing the release date back, so we have like another month to fill. So if you want to do like a preview, because we have our preview with a prior where we speculate.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll chat about that a little bit after we hang up. Colt, I wish you nothing but success. Your podcast is awesome, and go ahead and tell everybody where they can find and buy your stuff and support you.
Well, my website's coltcabana.com, so just you can literally find everything there. Twitter and Instagram's at Colt Cabana, and check out my documentary that I made. It's about comedy wrestling, and that's at coltmerch.com, which can be found through coltcabana.com.
Awesome. Colt Cabana on the third mic for this week's episode. It's been a pleasure. You can check me and Dave out at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Make sure you share it because it makes us feel cooler than we actually are. Make sure to check us out on It's All Good, Man. We talked to Michael McKean, who played Chuck on Better Call Saul. He was one of the big three that we were trying to get. We still got two more, Bob Odenkirk and Jonathan Banks, and then I think we pretty much ran the table for the cast of Better Call Saul.
That's right.
So the more you guys out there share it and retweet us, the better chances we're going to finally land those two on the microphone. And, of course, on Nothing Important, keep supporting us. We can get more great guests like Colt. Dave, you can stop recording now.
Be sure to follow Nothing Important online at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Find us on iTunes, on Twitter at NotImportantPC, and you can also find us on Facebook. Nothing Important is recorded with help from Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois. Thanks for being awesome.